My name is Bryan Vouhntka. I'm the Strategic Partnerships Manager here at ChargeOver. Here today with my co-host, John Doherty from Credo. We're going to talk to you about how to turn your digital marketing company cash flow positive. A bit about me. I'm from Minnesota, born and raised. Some of my hobbies include fishing and snowmobiling. For someone from Minnesota, that's probably not a shock. Winter is like 7 months out of the year, and it's the land of 10,000 lakes. But my fun fact is I'm a professional ultimate frisbee player. If you haven't seen it or you don't know what it is, I would highly suggest you check it out. But really enough about me. I'm here to provide you some information about turning your company cash flow positive and how that could potentially be done with something like ChargeOver. ChargeOver is an AR automation platform, and our goal is to get your entire workflow as hands-off as you would like it. Here with my co-host, as I mentioned, John. I'll let him introduce himself and Credo.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it. Hey, everyone. John Doherty. I'm the founder of Credo and a newish company called Editor Ninja. At Credo, we help companies find the right digital agency to work with, primarily focused on marketing and development, both web development and custom development. And at Editor Ninja, we are the internet's preferred editing service. So you write the content and we edit it and make it sing. So I'm a longtime digital marketing veteran. I've been in SEO since about 2009. I started in SEO about 2009, did that professionally until about 2018. In 2015, I got laid off from my last job and went out on my own and started Credo. And so over the last 7 years, I guess, we've generated over $250 million in digital marketing leads for agencies. We've directly tracked over $50 million in revenue that agencies have made from the leads that we've sent them. So I don't know if I mentioned this, but I'm based in Denver, Colorado, with my wife and my daughter and my very large dog. I have a 100-pound Black Lab Great Dane. Similar to Brian, fishing is one of my hobbies. So I'm a fly fisherman. We were just talking about that before we hopped on here. Big skier, mountain biker, etc. And a fun fact about me is that when I was in my mid-20s, I lived in a hippie commune in Switzerland in a dairy village for 2 years. And that's actually where I got my first entrepreneurial experience. Kind of a storied past there. But I'm stoked to talk about digital marketing and really accounts receivable. It's not a sexy topic, but it's something that I've seen over the years that is kind of a drag on a lot of agencies and on freelancers. And I see a couple of different things. First off, I see agencies that are severely hamstringing their own cash flow by billing in arrears and then billing with net terms. So we're going to talk about some ways to kind of get around that. I've also seen some agencies. I remember a few years ago, I was hosting a mastermind, an agency mastermind in Mexico, in Puerto Vallarta. We rented this like beautiful house, and there's this patio overlooking the ocean there. And one of the guys that was there was like, it was beginning of the month. He's like, oh man, I need to send out invoices today. And so he literally spent 6 hours that day doing accounts receivable, right? When he should have been hanging out on the beach in Mexico, right? Hanging out with the rest of us, talking about building their agency. He needed to do AR, right? And he's the founder. He was a primary consultant at the time, et cetera. This is just one of the bigger challenges that I have seen over the years. And it's something that's stopping a lot of agencies from being able to scale, because not only are they spending a lot of time in hiring people, maybe, those of you listening, you're one of these, but you're spending a lot of time, sending invoices, or you're employing people who send invoices, et cetera. And there's a better way to do it. Actually at Credo, we've kind of tried to solve this in a few ways over the years, including running in the past kind of an escrow marketplace of sorts for companies hiring agencies, guaranteeing that the clients are going to get what they were promised and the agencies were going to get paid in a timely manner. But even from Credo itself, our own cash flow, for a long time, we basically got paid just off of commissions. And so that was always delayed. We're like, we generate the lead, and then maybe 75 to 90 days later, we'd be getting paid, right? So basically financing our customers' growth, which a lot of agencies are doing as well with their current AR processes. So we actually went to billing on a subscription with commissions kind of on the back end as well, billed in the next month. So we were basically able to fast forward our cash flow by about at least 45 days at minimum. And sometimes it was even longer. Sometimes it was 75 to 90 days. 90 days is basically a full quarter, right? So I have more cash to grow up front, which allows us to deliver a better product. So I actually believe that by improving your AR processes, you're going to be able to build a better agency, because your customers are going to be happier as well. So there's the intro, Brian.
Well, yeah, as John mentioned again, kind of those tenets for being able to operate positively. Can really kind of break it down into three main portions. First one being calculating and charging invoices properly. You want this process to be smooth and efficient. You should be dictating when this is happening. It shouldn't be a vague schedule like when billing or accounting gets around to it. Like everyone should know this happens on X date or over the course of 1 to 2 days. From there, you want to make sure that you're collecting efficiently as well. Make sure that customers are paying you on your terms, not just choosing to pay you when they feel like it. And then finally, scaling your business. If you are charging and calculating efficiently, if you are collecting efficiently, that gives you more time to spend on your outbound process to hopefully bring more leads in the door, provide your services, and it all spins up from there. So, John, would you be able to provide some context as to what Credo sees as like the current AR process from a lot of agencies?
Yes, of course. So what we see from a lot of agencies is that they're billing in arrears, which means billing after the fact, after work has been done. And most of the projects, I mean, the vast majority, Bryan, 98% of projects that come through Credo are ongoing retainers. So they're not like a one-off audit or something like that. It seems like a lot of freelancers and consultants, and even agencies, but freelancers and consultants are the ones we see primarily doing audits, have adopted a workflow of half due up front and then half due upon delivery. And that usually has some sort of net terms 15-30, which as we all know, usually gets pushed out to 30, 45, 60. But it at least, but they do that because it guarantees that they're at least going to get paid half. Like that's literally what they say. It's like, well, if I do this, I know I'm not going to get bilked out of everything, right? Which sucks. That even has to be on their mind, right? That agencies don't pay their bills. I even thought in the past about building a business credit system to basically say like, should you bring on this business as your client? Do they pay their bills, right? Obviously decided not to do that, but kind of what we see happen and the way the typical timeline goes is say, it's October 19th right now. Say you're talking to a prospect and you agree, to work here in the next like couple of weeks that you're going to start in the next couple of days, really, that you're going to start on November 1st. And so say you kick off November 1st, the way AR usually works for agencies is you agree to the work. It's all signed in October. You start work November 1. The work for that month, say, is completed November 25th or, just through the end of the month, right? I mean, we have Thanksgiving this year, I think it's like the 24th of November. And so, work will probably be completed like the next week. And then they bill that the client for that, create the invoice, it's sent to the customer or the client December 1st. Usually, Bryan, this is actually December 5th or December 10th or something like that. So it even further delays, right? The process. And it's with net 30, net 60 payments. Net 30 is usually what we see, which usually stretches into net 45, net 60. So really you're not getting paid until the new year, right? So you're not even getting that revenue in this year. Though sometimes the clients are wanting to pay quicker at the end of the year, but especially like middle of the year, right? Your revenue is being severely delayed. But say you're billing on net 30 and it takes them net 60, you're not getting paid until January 31st for work that you did in November, right? And say they pay via ACH, which takes 3 to 5 days to clear, then you're not actually getting that money until February 4th, right? So this is a long lead time. And there are ways to do it better, which we're going to talk about. But this is what I usually see, and it hurts agencies and it hurts their growth because they're not getting paid. They're not getting cash in the door, so they have to keep these huge cash reserves on hand just in case some big client takes forever to pay, and they need to be able to make payroll.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, just kind of putting it back to all of you who are on this call, again, what is your current invoicing process looking internally? Do you have a single person who's doing all the billing, or is it multiple people? And then how manual is this process? Does that person have to approve every invoice before sending it? Do they have to draft all the emails to the customers? And then how long does that take? Is it something that takes an hour? Does it take, a couple hours, a couple days? And then how many days do your customers have to pay? Again, net 30, net 45, like John's talking about. And then what does your collections process look like? Do you just email them? Do you have to follow up when payments don't process right away through multiple channels? And then to John's point, when do you see that revenue? Is it after you've already performed the work for them?
Yeah. We've automated them, so we don't even have net terms. But I'd be curious to hear from the group what net terms do you have.
All right.
I'm just going to go ahead and guess, Bryan, that it's probably like 15 or 30. I mean,
Sounds
most
good.
agencies, honestly, the vast majority of agencies that I've worked with over the last years, I've worked with 400, over 400 at this point. The vast majority, over 90%, it's net 30 is what they're agreeing to.
Yep. So kind of moving on and kind of end capping this can be a pain, right? Billing is, again, as John mentioned, not a particularly sexy subject. It's not the most fun to talk about. We all know of a story or an experience where someone was supposed to send out invoices or something was missed on a calculation, and now there's double work to do. You have to manage the customer and their experience as well as fix that mistake. And besides being maybe like a minor inconvenience up to like a great pain, just that feeling of dread because your process is not great. And John, would you be able to talk about some like experience that you've had with some customers who haven't paid you on time?
Yeah. So when I first went out on my own, 2017, September 2017, I remember signing a contract with an agency to basically help them, basically to consult with the agency on their lead generation process, their lead generation, and then like work delivery process. And I remember we agreed to like, it was, I was in San Francisco and they were in San Diego, and I agreed to go down there to San Diego. They agreed to pay my, travel expenses, etc. And so it was like, let's say it was $7,500 total. I did ask for, I don't know, 3,000 up front, let's say something like that. Went down there in February, March, and, was there for like 3 days, was on site with them. And then basically we had agreed that like, okay, I'm going to invoice you right after I'm done. Net 15 is what I did. I think this is March 2016. They settled that in January of the next year, right? I followed up every single month. I came to find out that the agency was experiencing some cash flow issues. They were being sued by a client. The owner was in the process of selling it to his COO, all of this stuff, right? But it took them 10 months to get me paid, to actually, finish settling it out. To the point where the owner that was selling the business had basically told me, because I'd known him in the industry for a long time, he said, look, man, honestly, like, if I have to pay you out of my own pocket, I will. Like, I'm not gonna like bilk you, but like I need some patience, right? But it took forever. I kept having to chase them, and I've seen this time and time and time again. I even saw recently where we had some of our agency customers at Credo, where they basically came to us and they're like, hey, can we delay paying you commissions on closed work because our client decided to stop paying their invoices. These big companies, whole company basically said, you know what? We're just gonna push off paying these invoices for 60 days just to see what happens in the industry, right? Or see what happens in the economy. So net 15, net 30 terms, and they basically just said, sorry, contracts, we don't care. We're not gonna pay you for another couple of months, right? So this happens all the time. You're not gonna be able to get around it completely, but there are going to be ways to make it easier and to actually get, more of these payments up front.
Yeah. So as we've talked about, there can be a ton of different issues within the overall process. Even if you do have a fairly well-defined structure, sometimes it is not as efficient as it definitely could be. And so the solution to this is kind of using the right tools to get the job done. And what if you could solve a lot of the issues that we've gone over, calculating, charging, all of those pieces? You definitely can. And automation is your friend here. You could automate your AR process, change your current invoicing schedule, update your collections process, reduce the amount of time it takes your customers to pay, encourage them to pay with ACH, or if they want to pay with credit card, you could charge them a processing fee so that they're getting hit with that 3% or whatever it is in your case instead of you. Invoice your customers in less time, more efficiently, and get paid before you perform any work. You could do that with automation and something like ChargeOver. As John and I have mentioned, ChargeOver could do all of these items or any number based on your specific needs. ChargeOver can connect to a front-end system, sometimes directly with the CRM or with something like Zapier, or we have a REST API if you want to build out like a native integration. From there, ChargeOver can have subscriptions set to invoice to whatever day you like. So Again, if that's a single billing date, I'll say like the first of the month, all the invoices can get automated and generated on the first of the month. It could also be an anniversary date. So say they signed up today, they would get charged on every 19th of the month. We also have the ability to handle one-time invoices as well as a single invoice with scheduled payments against it. So again, if you're going to be charging some large amount, say $10,000, $20,000, and you don't want to create a subscription against it, you can actually schedule payments on whatever frequency you like against a single invoice, which is something we do see with a lot of digital marketing agencies using those scheduled payments. We can also store payment methods on file, even ACH, helping automate and speed up that process. We are level 1 PCI compliant, and from there, we can automate those payments and run those subscriptions on whatever date you have set in the system. On top of that, we can even pass that information onto an accounting system like QuickBooks or Xero, creating customer, payment, invoice, and matching them up in real time. ChargeOver also integrates with a couple of the other applications here below. This is not an exhaustive list. This is just a couple of them. But with something like Google Analytics, you can see how many times a link was clicked or how many times an invoice was opened. Or you could have something like a payment from a customer trigger a notification in a Slack channel. But really, again, bringing this back around, again, your brand is important. I'm going to pass this back over to John to talk about the importance of branding, throughout his history and throughout just the customer journey in general.
Well, so Bryan, we all know that leads are much more likely to sign with an agency that has a good reputation, right? And so, I'm an acquisition marketer. I've been in SEO, content, et cetera, for a really long time now, since like 2009. And one of the things that I've seen over time, and I apologize for my dog being a goofball in the background. FedEx guy just came by. But one of the things that I've seen over the years is that actually, yeah, sure, you can rank for these various keywords and you can buy these clicks on Google Ads and do your Facebook retargeting and all of that stuff. But when it comes down to it, what actually gets someone to sign and what gets someone to stick around is your sales process and your brand, right? Get people to the page, but then actually getting them to convert into a lead, having good conversations with them, pitching them well, and them actually trusting. At the end of the day, it's about trust. It's about them trusting that you're going to be able to deliver the work for them, right? Part of that too is when you're running a service business is if your processes for dealing with them as a client, right, for handling them as a client are locked down, they trust that you have processes that are locked down for delivering them results, right? So if your AR system is a mess and you're not sure who's doing what work and you're, a little bit wishy-washy about, how you assign, work to people or how you onboard people or when you're going to report and all that sort of stuff, right? You're breaking trust from the start. One book that I've actually been reading, it's more talking about products, but like within software tools, we can also apply it to agencies and service businesses, is Never Lose a Customer Again. And in that book, they talk about the importance of giving them clarity at the start and them knowing exactly what they're going to get, right? And that goes through their whole experience with you, not just like, we're going to run your SEO campaigns and your paid ads campaigns, and we're going to report on the on the 5th of the month every month, or the next Monday, or whatever that is, but also how it is actually working with you on the business level. So how easy is it to pay you? How easy is it to get reports delivered? How easy is it to see results? All of these things. And so one of the things I love about tools like ChargeOver, and you can use Stripe, right? You can set up invoices in there and you can schedule some things. You could build out your own portal, in WordPress and use MemberMouse or Paid Memberships Pro, like that sort of thing. But then you have to admin all of that, right? It doesn't handle the taxes and all of those sorts of things. By using something, like ChargeOver or, just your own portal that is branded, right? You present them a professional way, easy way for them to get on board, right? And if you're running your payment process as, we don't start until we get the first payment, right? This makes it super easy for them to get on board. You don't have to go and add them into this, add them into your CRM and then add them into QuickBooks and then add them into your billing system and all of these things. They can just sign up right there, right? You say, this is the package. This is what you're signing up for. They put in their payment details and boom, the payment happens and boom, they're ready to get going, right? This is the activation phase and it makes it much quicker to get clients actually going, because the more you're delaying that process, to them actually getting going. That's you delaying that. I mean, it's them delaying getting results, right? But if you're delaying them, you are now delaying them getting results. You're also delaying you getting money in the door, right? And that isn't good for anybody. So this is a way to kind of overcome a lot of that.
Yeah, uh, absolutely. And actually, this portion will actually move on and just kind of show, like, again, out of the box, how easy this can be to kind of have set up and ready to go. So here is my Rocket agency. I'm only requiring a little bit of information here: an email, a name, the company name. These forms are completely customizable. You can put in your own Pantones, your own color. You can have custom fields or whatever you would like, whatever information you want to grab from a customer. But this is actually for a marketing retainer. We're going to charge monthly. Again, setting this up automated to kind of, again, push that cash forward, get that earlier. So $2,000 for it. And I've actually got ACH set up here with ACH details for the customer. This could be iframed in on your website. This could be a like product that a customer has to click on from your website. Multiple different ways to handle this. But again, not a ton of information being required here to sign up. If the customer goes ahead and clicks that they want to sign up, they will get a confirmation page letting them know, as well as an email receipt. If I were to go back into ChargeOver and click on my customers, I can see that the customer was created here. If I go to the subscription, you can see that $2,000 was invoiced. Nothing is due. By default, a month from today, they're going to get their next invoice. If we pop up in the invoice forecast, you can see that every single month we're charging that $2,000. And again, that is pulling over the line item and the description. We also saved the ACH account on file. So automatically next month, when it's the 19th, we're going to run the payment against the scheduled invoice and automatically process it. If you wanted to look at the invoice itself, you can see that obviously ACH, the payment is pending, but in a couple days that'll resolve and you'll be all set to go. All of that took less than maybe a minute for your customer to potentially type in that information. So again, something that out of the box, it can be as custom as you would like it. But again, does not take a rocket scientist to get that going. But I think it's nice to kind of talk about and like illustrate some of the points, but actually some real examples. I obviously think about companies like changing their AR process for the better is helpful as well. Example is eMyth. eMyth is a coaching firm. They're essentially looking for a way to onboard, bill, and manage their clients better. Their old process used to take them 6 hours and about 100 steps to onboard a new client. And that's because staff members were spending hours each day manually reconciling transactions. Today using ChargeOver, eMyth now onboards clients in about 10 minutes with just 6 steps. And that has freed up 4 hours of accounting work per day by eliminating that manual reconciliation process required previously. Another good example is Great Dental Websites, to design and market websites to dental practices. Before using ChargeOver, they had about $20,000 in unpaid or unsent invoices. But like, here's the kicker. They knew it was a problem, but they did not know how much was out there until they actually started digging in and transforming this process. They knew they had, some that hadn't been sent out, or we know we might have a couple that fall through the cracks. But again, until they got in and changed, they didn't know what the numbers exactly were. That outstanding AR was reduced to 0 in a few months, and now Great Dental Websites charges over 550 accounts through ChargeOver and onboarded over 100 new clients last year and is still continually growing. John, I know we had talked about previously about a little bit of like managing percentage of spend and like the pain of that. Would you be able to kind of provide some pieces on how that can all kind of fit together as well?
Yeah, for sure. And I think this point though, Bryan, is really important. Agencies are typically fairly low margin businesses, right? I mean, the best ones run at like 20-30% like net profit. This sort of thing, like 20K in unpaid or unsent invoices. I mean, if you're running say a 50,000, say you're running $1 million a year agency, right? Which like very few agencies even reach that, right? I think it's like 10% or something like that, maybe even lower. I know it's like 4% of all businesses started in America ever reach 7 figures, right? Agencies may be slightly higher, but still $83,333 a month, right? Gets you that $1 million annual revenue mark. 20K of that, like that's pretty big, like if you're sending out, these invoices every single month and you're missing another $20,000, like that as the owner, that's $20,000 just out of your pocket because you just didn't even know that it hadn't been collected, right? So by automating a lot of this, you're going to be able to put that money directly back in your pocket, right? $20,000 is not a small amount of money to anyone. So but one thing I did want to talk about that some pushback that I've gotten around, like, okay, as I've kind of delivered content like this before is, but John, I'm an ads agency and we bill off of a percentage of ad spend, right? And so this isn't going to work for me, right? Everyone thinks these sorts of things aren't going to work for them, and I'm going to just call shenanigans on that. I'll be PC here. I'm gonna call shenanigans on that. It is actually possible to do this. And here's how I've had agencies construct their billing, right? If you're an ad agency, remember, I've worked with 400 plus digital agencies, digital marketing agencies specifically over the last 7 years. And what I've gotten a bunch of agencies to move to, which has significantly affected their growth in a good way, was basically building their pricing instead of, we charge a percentage of spend no matter what the spend is. Implement a minimum. Our minimum is, $2,000 a month for managing your Google Ads campaigns up to $10,000 in spend, right? So you do $8,000, right? You spend $8,000 in 1 month. We're still getting paid $2,000. You do 9,500. We're still getting paid $2,000. Once you go over 10K, then we bill, 20%, 15%, 15% is usually what I see. 20% is great. 20% of the additional, right? So say they spend $15,000, right? You're now going to make $3,000 from this client. Great. But you don't have to wait until after the month is done to see how much they spent to invoice the whole thing. You can have them, you basically think about it as a retainer. They are always paying you $2,000. You can have that go at the beginning of November. You're managing their ads in November. And then in early December, you say, okay, we spent $15,000, and then send them an additional invoice for $1,000. Or you have them in your payment system like ChargeOver or Stripe or whatever. You're then able to go in and actually just directly run that payment. Right? You don't even have to send an invoice. You can send them a receipt. You should send them a receipt, but you don't even have to go and send them an invoice with net terms, all of that. So once again, you bill them on the 5th of the month, right? You're not just billing them, you're invoicing them. So you're getting that cash 5 days after the work was completed, as opposed to sending them an invoice and hoping they pay it within those 30 days, right? So you've at least front loaded your revenue by 30 days. So, it's just a massive win, in order to get cash in the door that you can then use to grow. And also it just lets you sleep better at night as an agency owner, knowing you have the cash in the bank account to be able to pay your employees. Cash flow is just such a big challenge for agencies. And this is just a quick win. It's a super quick win, and it's going to be massive. It's been massive for every agency that I've seen actually implement it.
Yeah. So we provided a ton of information, to you. Again, we'd love to continue these conversations with you individually. For us, as of right now, if you sign up for a demo with ChargeOver, you have about a 25% chance of that being with me. If you comment on the sign up that you heard about us from the Credo webinar, that will greatly increase those odds. And again, that's at the end of the form. It'll ask you how you heard about us. You'd click other and type in Credo webinar. Secondly, you'll get a follow-up email after we are done with some links, and one of those is a one-pager that goes through ChargeOver's benefits specifically for digital marketing agencies. If you have any questions on that or want to hear more, you can reach out to me at my email below. We also both have some upcoming events. I do know we have a live demo tomorrow with our head of onboarding, Chris Dube, at 11 a.m. Central, and I'll be posting the link down to that in the chat. It's basically a town hall style look at ChargeOver. It'll have an open Q&A. So if you have any more questions or just want to get a look at the system, you can go ahead and sign up for that. And again, I'll post that shortly. But I'm going to pass it over to John to talk about some initiatives that Credo has coming up as well.
Yeah, and so what's on the docket for Credo right now is, so for the last, 9.5 years, almost 10 years in February, we've been helping marketing agencies get more clients and helping companies find the right marketing agency to work with. We've recently started expanding those verticals that we're in. And so now as I mentioned at the start, actually helping companies that are looking for development help. So whether they need a new website built or they need a full custom app built in Ruby on Rails, we have agencies that can serve them. So also, if you're an agency and you're looking for more leads, we're generating, 75 to 100 qualified leads a month at this point, and we get them introduced to agencies just like you. So I'd encourage you to go to getcredo.com/network. And you can apply there. My team will, review your application, approve you, or let you know, if something, something needs some work. Usually it's, your website isn't quite up to snuff, or you don't have a website. Are kind of the main ones that we see why someone does not get approved. But if you're a good agency doing good work, you're marketing yourself well, you're branding yourself well, there's no reason why you wouldn't be. So my team there at Credo would love to chat with you.
Heck yeah. At this point, I will open it up to questions. So anybody have any questions or anything they're dying to find out?
Bryan, I have one. What's the
Yep.
challenge that people see? I mean, you mentioned the E-Myth, and I assume this is like the E-Myth Revisited, like that whole crew. The E-Myth Revisited was one of the most influential books I read early on in my entrepreneurial career. What is the reason why, like when your sales team, or when y'all are speaking with people that are looking to sign up, what is the thing that's happened in their business that's made them realize that they need, a solution, like ChargeOver?
Yeah. Oftentimes it's like a scaling issue that they find out. Like, we started out, we had this small business, we had a process that worked for us, but now, Debbie in accounting can't manage 1,000 accounts off that spreadsheet anymore. Like, we've grown rapidly, and now we need someone else or something to efficiently streamline this process. And there can be also other breakdowns, potentially from like a sales to invoicing process that happens there. Sometimes the sales managers get a little creative, and that leads to accounting having to jump in or make adjustments to invoices. And there's a bunch of other issues, but really scalability is the often answer that we see for something like that, where again, it's just not feasible with the current process. And so, whether that is some way that ChargeOver is actually taking on the front end, where you're sending like quotes out of ChargeOver, and like you're entirely automating that first process, or whether you're using something like a Salesforce, or you're like pushing stuff to us from HubSpot when like opportunities are closed won, that creates the subscription and creates the customer and all the details from there. But yeah, really, it's oftentimes just like the process that they were working with doesn't work anymore, and now it's a problem. And like, it was okay before, but like, it's untenable.
Gotcha. No, it makes sense. I mean, this is the kind of thing that, like, when you're early on, you just have a couple of clients, right? You're using I was trying to remember the tool that I used back in the day for FreshBooks that I use for sending invoices and such, but it doesn't handle things like taxes, and it just kind of becomes a mess after a while. And I remember looking in there one time and being like, wow, there are like, I mean, you're sending invoices, right? You're not actually charging it. I remember looking there one time and being like, wow, I have $8,000 of unpaid invoices in here, right? Some of them were like 6-8 months old. There was no auto follow up or anything like that going on. So, even at that, and that I had like 5 clients, something like that. So, I can definitely see this becoming an issue, especially as you get bigger and having to chase invoices and all of that. It's just it becomes a real cost center, right? To get paid. Like, it should be a lot easier to get paid. It should be automated,
Right.
at the end of the day. If you don't have to think about doing that, right? Or you have to think about it a lot less, right? If you're doing the like, paid via, based off percentage of spend sort of thing. Even if you can take it from 2 days a month down to like a half a day a month, right? 4 hours a month. That's another day and a half you're getting back in your month, right? That's like 10% of your month right there, 8% of your month right there. That's pretty massive.
Absolutely. I want to thank John for joining me here on this call, and thank you all for your time today. We look forward to hopefully talking with each of you as we move forward, and hopefully you have a good rest of your day. Thanks so much. Take care.
Thanks, Bryan. Thanks, everyone.
Yep.